On July 10, 2026, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office published its fourth batch of declassified UAP records under the PURSUE Act, the mandate Congress passed in late 2024, requiring systematic release of historical UAP files from across the federal government. 40 documents, 19 videos, source agencies spanning the Department of Defense, the CIA, the FBI, NASA, and for the first time in the program, the Department of Energy. Most media coverage focused on the video count. But the real story is in 3 specific cases buried in that batch, cases that rewrite what we know about how the US government has tracked, documented, and classified unidentified aerial phenomena for decades. Some context. The Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Disclosure Act, championed by Senators Rounds and Gillibrand and incorporated into successive National Defense Authorization Acts, created a legal framework requiring federal agencies to identify, review, and transfer UAP-related records to ARO for declassification review. The PURSUE provisions, formalized in the FY 2025 NDAA, established a rolling release schedule. Releases U1 through 03, published between January and May 2026, contained mostly historical DoD and intelligence community files. Release 04 was different. It was the first batch to include material from the Department of Energy's nuclear security apparatus. That distinction matters enormously. The most consequential document in Release 04 is a Department of Energy report detailing a UAP incident above the Pantex plant near Amarillo, Texas, in 2015. Pantex is the only facility in the United States that assembles and disassembles nuclear warheads. It is, by any measure, one of the most sensitive sites in the national security infrastructure. According to the newly declassified report, security personnel observed and instrumentally tracked an object hovering above a restricted zone of the facility for approximately 11 minutes. The object demonstrated no visible propulsion, no navigation lighting, and did not respond to radio challenges. Internal DOE classification designated the event as a security incursion, unresolved. Not a drone, not a balloon, unresolved. This is not the first time UAP activity has been linked to nuclear facilities. Researcher Robert Hastings documented dozens of such cases spanning decades. Former Air Force officers Robert Salas and David Schindel have testified about incidents at Malmstrom Air Force Base. But the Pantex File is different. It's an official DOE security document generated in real time by the agency responsible for the nation's nuclear stockpile. Pay attention to that word, unresolved. Within DOE security protocols, incidents are categorized by outcome: identified threat, identified benign, or unresolved. An unresolved designation means the agency's own investigators could not attribute the incursion to any known aircraft, drone platform, atmospheric phenomenon, or adversarial system. Legally, under the PURSUE framework, unresolved cases cannot be closed or reclassified without new evidence. They remain open, they accumulate, and they now enter the public record, carrying the full institutional weight of the agency that filed them. This is a fundamentally different kind of evidence than a pilot anecdote or a second-hand account. This is the Department of Energy saying, something was above our nuclear weapons, and we don't know what it was. The second major case in Release 04 is the 2020 Navy Range Fowler infrared video. Range Fowler is Navy terminology for an object that enters an active military training or weapons testing range without authorization. The video, captured by a ship-based infrared sensor system, shows an object transiting a controlled maritime area at significant speed. Accompanying the video is a debrief report And this is rare. Most previously released UAP videos, including the famous Gimbal, GoFast, and FLIR 1 clips, were published without their operational context. The debrief report documents the crew's real-time assessment. The object was not correlated to any known traffic, did not appear on conventional radar, and maintained a consistent thermal signature inconsistent with known propulsion exhaust profiles. The crew initiated standard range clearing procedures. The object departed the area before intercept. The third standout case dates to 1996. Military infrared footage, whose precise origin and platform remain partially redacted. What's visible is an object tracked in the mid-wave infrared band, exhibiting what analysts describe as anomalous thermal behavior. The object's heat signature fluctuates in ways not consistent with conventional aerodynamic heating or engine exhaust patterns. The 1996 footage matters for a specific reason. It demonstrates that the US military was capturing sensor-grade UAP data 3 decades ago, long before the 2004 Nimitz encounter that is often treated as the starting point of modern UAP awareness. The instrumented record is far deeper than the public narrative has acknowledged. Across Release Aero 4's 40 files, documents originate from 5 separate federal agencies. The 19 videos employ at least 4 distinct sensor modalities: forward-looking infrared, ship-based thermal imaging, ground-based infrared detection systems, and what appear to be satellite-derived observation products. This multi-agency, multi-sensor picture is precisely what congressional advocates like Representatives Luna and Burchett have demanded: raw case-level data, not the sanitized summaries that have characterized AARO's annual reports and the ODNI's assessments to Congress. Those high-level reports have consistently emphasized that most UAP sightings can be attributed to mundane objects. That framing is technically accurate and profoundly misleading. Release Aero 4 makes clear that the residual cases, the ones that survive institutional scrutiny, are not ambiguous blobs on a screen. They are multi-sensor, multi-witness, instrumentally documented events that the government's own classification system labels unresolved. Here is the core tension. AARO's public reports have presented UAP data in aggregate, emphasizing statistical normalcy. Release Aero 4 presents individual cases in detail, and the detail is deeply uncomfortable for the normalcy narrative. A DOE security incursion above a nuclear warhead facility, a Navy engagement with an object invisible to conventional radar, military infrared footage spanning 3 decades of unexplained thermal signatures. No single case proves anything extraordinary. But the pattern, nuclear site surveillance, sensor system evasion, thermal anomalies across multiple platforms and decades, is exactly the pattern that would demand aggressive investigation if attributed to a foreign adversary. The question Congress must now answer is straightforward. If these cases warranted classified security reports when they occurred, why were they treated as bureaucratic footnotes for years afterward? Release Aero 5 is expected before the end of 2026. Congressional sources indicate it may include additional DOE material and potentially records from the National Reconnaissance Office. The Pursue framework has done what decades of FOIA litigation could not. It has created a legal conveyor belt, forcing classified UAP records into public view, case by case, agency by agency. The Pantex File alone justifies the entire mechanism. For the first time, a Department of Energy security document confirms an unresolved aerial incursion above an active nuclear weapons facility. Not in testimony, not in rumor, but in the agency's own words, under its own classification authority, now released under congressional mandate. The files are open. The question is whether anyone with authority will read them with the seriousness they demand.